Nityanandam. This is Ma Nitya Mayaditananda coming to you live from Trisulam, Chennai, South India, Tamil Nadu, the home state of my beloved Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Nityananda. Today I'd like to talk to you about one of his most astonishing techniques. It's called completion. And this is a technique that you get to go through in Inner Awakening when you take that program. There's another one starting in September. There's one going on right now. And people are just being changed so dramatically because of this technique. And what it is getting rid of the ghosts and skeletons in your closet. You hang on to so much garbage. You hang on to so many past traumas and emotions and memories, and they weigh you down. And I've observed old people, and it's like they've got weights attached to them. They just, they get more and more hunched. Their head, it's harder and harder for them to hold their head up. Their back curves, and it's like there's all of these weights being dragged behind them. And I realized that psychologically, emotionally, internally, there's this massive weight on them. Whereas when you clean out that old garbage and get rid of it, just acknowledge that it happened and it's over and get rid of it, you become so light and you begin anti-aging. So the completion technique, as I experienced it the first time, we were all sitting in the hall in front of Swamiji, which right there is completing you. And what he had us do is write out our life story. And some of you have read my memoir, Inside the Wall, From Hollywood to Homeless to Higher Consciousness. And I realized that basically that was one massive completion technique for me. The first version I wrote, I ranted and raved, and it was way too long. It was like 500 pages. And I just got it all out. I cried and I laughed and I wrote that story out. And when you do it in the hall with Swamiji, what you do is, it's not that dramatic. You don't write 500 pages, but you sit in the hall and you write and write and write. And then you have to find 5 people to read this story to. And I tell you, the first time you read it, you cry and, it was so hard. And the person that you're saying it to has to stay impassive. You can't react. You have to just stare at them. Don't give them any encouragement or, sympathy. And so you read the story, and then you go find another person, and I tell you about the last one, you are so sick of your story. You're skipping over bits, and you're like, blah, 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 and then this happened, blah, 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 and it's over. And that's when you know you've completed, we're not saying, get rid of the memories, but get rid of the emotion attached to the memory. As Swamiji said, that's when it's a samskara, or an engram, as they're called. We all have memories, we all remember things from our past. Swamiji remembers his past, but there's no emotion attached to it. It's like it happened to somebody else. And when you've had a successful completion, as Swamiji said, you lose fluids. So either you'll have a good crying spell, or maybe you'll do 1, 2, 3. Maybe your bowels will just let go. Maybe you'll vomit. But when you have successfully purged yourself of a toxic memory, your body definitely flushes out. Maybe you'll get a really intense head cold, and some mucus and stuff going on. But afterwards, you feel like you've been born again. And we also do completion here on a daily basis, and that's to keep the baggage from just loading up again. The most dramatic example I had was when I was teaching meditation to some women in a shelter for abused women. And they were doing Swamiji's Nitya meditation, which was immediately bringing them and their kids a lot of peace. You can go online and get that for free. It's on meditationisforyou.org. But the Nitya was Swamiji's groundbreaking first meditation gift to the world. When he was very young, he came up with this. And then afterwards, I had these ladies in the room, so I started talking to them about completion. And they were all there because their husbands had tried to kill them, had beaten them, there had been extreme violence. So, of course, the incompletions were massive. And my husband had tried to kill me and my son. So I know the depth of the terror and how hard it is to climb out of that deep, deep hole. So I was talking to these ladies about completing, and how one technique is to picture that person across from you or in a mirror, or write it down. But whoever you want to complete with, say what you wished you could have said. And in some cases, that person no longer is available. maybe it's a dead parent, but if there's a haunting going on in you, then you need to have that last conversation you wished you could have had. And this one young mom, she had two adorable little toddlers, and she was just hanging on every word. So she said, tomorrow I go to court. And because her husband was so violent, she would always just shut down. She had a lot of trouble speaking in his presence, and that's what him and his family were banking on, was that she would just shut down and not testify against him. And so the odds were very high that that's what was going to happen. So I said to her, since he always would intimidate you into silence, say the conversation you wished you could have said to him. Like, I loved you so much. Why did you harm us? Why this? I said, say everything you wished you could have said to him in person. And so, I said goodnight to them, and I didn't go back for 2 weeks. I went to that shelter every 2 weeks. And when I went back, she was just waiting for me at the door. And she said, you won't believe what happened. She diligently had that conversation with him in the mirror and cried and, got angry and, had the emotions that she never had in his presence. And the next day she went to court. He came into court and immediately changed his plea from not guilty to guilty, and turned around and looked at her and said, I'm so sorry. It gets me every time. He said, I'm so sorry, I need help. Will you forgive me? And so, of course, his lawyer wasn't ready for this. Nobody knew he was going to do this, but what you have to understand is this virtual reality is coming out of your inner space. So when you change your inner space, the drama going on in front of you, the movie, the scene has to change to match it. So he had to change his performance. He could no longer be that angry guy. He had to be that loving person that she had married and fallen in love with. And so he said, I need help. I'm so sorry. I'm guilty. And not only did he change, but his whole family came up to her and offered support, said, you need help with the kids. And, of course, his family was the reason he was abusive, because they'd abused him. So, of course, they weren't going to admit they were wrong, because, or that he was guilty, because it admitted they were guilty. They had created this angry young man. And so the whole court date turned into this massive blessing from Cosmos, just because she had completed inside. And that's what Swamiji keeps hammering into us, is there are no others. There's nothing out here. It's just broken pieces of ourselves that we've spewed out to interact with so that we can heal ourselves. And, he loved the movie The Matrix, and he said, it's not reality, but it's so close you're not going to believe it. And I think us being plugged into these pods like Neo was at the opening of the movie, where he's just being given a virtual reality to keep his body immobile so that the machines can use his electrical force. They need to keep him quiet, so they just let him dream. And they give him the reality to dream. Well, it's pretty much what's going on here. So until you wake up, this is not what's really happening, and you have the ability to change all of it. So I encourage you, do completion. If my instructions were kind of garbled or unclear, go to the YouTube Life Bliss Foundation webpage, Nityananda's channel. And there's so many discourses he's given on completion techniques. He's given long explanations, short, quick ones, instant completion techniques. You will find one that will work for you. Some people like writing things out and then setting it on fire and having like a Viking funeral with their paper. And I've done that too. I've had bonfires where I've written out the completion and thrown it in, and just watching that paper burn has healed, has made me feel like that incompletion is no longer in my system. So I'm sorry for the wobbly camera. It's a little windy here today. But do try it. Check out the Inner Awakening page. If you're interested, come and do the whole process. Completion is just one small part of this astonishing transformational program. Nityanandam.